Hey, you got Tommy Denny.
And Travis LaBrucherie.
And you're listening to Four Dudes, One Cup, the SRJC Polar Bear Podcast.
So, I feel like we should start the show with a tweet.
A what?
Yeah. A tweet.
We can tweet.
Oh, I thought you said
Yes.
treat, and I was like, oh, what are we getting?
Well,
Okay.
this is a bit of
I'm
a
gonna
this
have
is a
lollipop
treat
left.
of a tweet. I will say.
Thank you.
I will say. Okay, so this tweet was sent right after Canada beat the USA 4-2 to knock them out of to knock the US out of the tournament while also sending themselves on. This tweet comes from a user. I believe it is P Kessel81.
Right.
I believe that is Stanley Cup champion Phil Kessel, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know who you're talking about.
So, okay, well, this is
It's too
Pittsburgh
soon
Penguins
for
Stanley
us.
Cup champion Phil Kessel. And he sent this out right after the game, and I quote, "Just sitting around the house tonight with my dog. Felt like I should be doing something important, but couldn't put my finger on it."
Maybe like playing
Ooh.
hockey, which she's a professional.
Maybe, right? Maybe playing for Team USA.
So why wasn't he playing?
Why wasn't he? That's a good question. So
doesn't he have like a hurt hand or something?
Well, that was what one of the others gave what Zach Parise said, but after the game, after somebody mentioned it to him. Okay, so your Team USA, you've just lost a game, you're eliminated from a major hockey tournament, and one of the guys who was left off your roster sends that out. What are you thinking? What are you thinking when that happens? Was that
Sure.
I mean,
well, the players
okay.
didn't pick the team, so if
I
I was
mean,
a player, I
yeah.
wouldn't
We'll
be
see.
offended at all.
That's the thing is, of course, the players take it as an offense to them because they were the ones who didn't play well enough to win. And I mean,
he can only replace
first of all,
one
let's go
guy.
over number one question. Was that a good or a bad call on Kessel's part?
I think it was funny. I don't think he meant it for whatever else.
He didn't mean it for the players. That's obvious.
Just
He meant it for the management. Oh, hi there. You left me, but hey, look, you could have maybe won something with me on the roster.
Yeah, he never said, "Hey, I'm better than this person. Hey, I'm better than this person."
It would have been
He was
something
just-
if he had said something like, "Oh, I could have scored unlike Kaner," right? Something like that.
Yeah.
He was being cheeky, which I always appreciate.
The thing with Kessel is that he doesn't say a lot. It's notorious, especially from his days in Toronto, that he doesn't say much.
Yeah.
When he says something, it's important.
Yeah.
Like, for example, he doesn't tweet much. That was his, that was his third tweet of the year. I think the last time he tweeted prior to that third one I mentioned, that one was from August 2015. So a year ago. So over a year ago. He's tweeted 3 times since then, and one of them was that.
I like it.
And it is blown up. I think Bobby Ryan also sent something a little controversial, but mainly apparently it was just a joke against himself because he was also left off the roster. Okay.
Here's the thing, there's always going to be guys left off the roster.
There always will be, yes.
Like,
now, because, I mean, obviously PK Subban's not going to be tweeting about, this defense would have been better if I was here, right? But I think...
different personalities.
Different personality. But let's go into why Kessel had to sent that tweet out in the first place, which was the USA starts off the tournament, loses 3-0 to Team Europe.
Yeah.
Then loses 4-2 to Canada. They're done. What went wrong for Team USA in that tournament?
No Phil Kessel. Isn't that what we're talking about?
It must be no Phil Kessel. I mean, if Phil Kessel is there, they win. They win the tournament.
It's
a given.
A little
It's
bit
given.
last time, but I still think that they picked the wrong team. Like I don't think that they put their best foot forward to begin with, and I think right off the bat they were up against it because
you
of
said that last week too.
See, I wrote my power rankings. We'll make more fun of that in a bit. But I put the U.S. lower because they built a team defensively instead of going with the offensive style which is what they're going to need here. And sure enough, they lost games because they didn't score enough. Yeah. Europe had way more shooters on their team. That's what they won.
Do you think it had to do with the system that Tortorella was trying to run?
That's the point. The Tortorella system, I've seen it firsthand in Vancouver. The Tortorella system is defense first. It's not offense. Offense is secondary. The first job of the team is to shut them down in your own end, then go score a goal. And that's the way Tortorella runs his team.
Yeah.
And the way that Dean Lombardi, who was the GM for Team USA, set up the club was for a John Tortorella coach team. And so that's why Kessel wasn't there.
They forgot that Lundqvist was Swedish. Is the problem, because that's the only reason he had so much success in New York. Because Lundqvist bailed him out all the time.
Well, I mean,
they weren't a high-scoring team. Even,
I wouldn't say. He also coached the Stanley Cup winning Tampa Bay team in 2004, and I wouldn't say they had Nikolai Abibulin in goal, but I wouldn't say that was like Lundqvist level. That would be a Lundqvist level of goaltending. In Vancouver, he had Luongo, and basically just scapegoated him.
2004
Same thing
was
with
a long
Black.
time ago, and still, I'd say a different game.
Tortorella era in Vancouver still hurts.
I think game one, just USA,
they underestimated.
They didn't care. They were just kind of half-assing it. At least, I mean, offensive-wise.
I mean, they did.
Quick was good.
I think he was okay. He wasn't as good. He was. Some people love to talk about how Quick has one good game a year kind of thing, how he has like one good game and then he has a bunch of mediocre ones and then has another great game, and that's usually how it goes for him in like the playoffs and stuff, right? He has like a good stretch. And that was kind of what happened, because Quick had a really good game against Canada in the exhibition. Like, he was the prime reason why they won that game. And then he plays pretty well in the final exhibition game as well, but then they go to Europe and he lets in a couple odd ones. Same thing with Canada, lets in a few bad goals there. But I mean, it's just, I feel like it just came down to they didn't have enough scoring. That was the problem. And then there was just little things that you could tell USA was just unraveling, which was like the stuff like Tortorella basically trash talking Max Pacioretty on his own team, saying he didn't give him enough. Saying to the press he didn't give him enough of a reason to get him more ice time. You don't say that about your players in a tournament. It's one thing if you're saying it like over an 82-game stretch, or you're saying this guy's just not playing well enough. It's another thing when you're just talking bad about them in the middle of a short tournament. You can't have that kind of issue with your players in this kind of a deal, because they won't want to play for you. And I feel like that was probably one of the reasons as well.
I wouldn't really want to play for John Tortorella. So.
Oh yeah,
you gotta wonder if like that kind of became a thing where people there wasn't really a coalescing of the thought processes, like because they didn't trust him, and so maybe that system that he wanted to work never even came together because everyone started with different mentalities.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons I said why they would lose, is that it would be because if they were going to lose, it was because they're not going to listen to John Tortorella. If you listen to John Tortorella and you get his style down, yeah, you're probably going to have a little more success.
But it's easy to see why you'd want to, like...
But if they tune him out because he's yelling too much or whatever...
Or, like, not letting you, like, kneel during the anthem.
Well, I mean, I feel like that... Yeah, to a lesser extent, but yes, that is true.
They all wanted to kneel, but
to a lesser extent, that is a good...
There's little things like that.
That is true, because, it is just that little stuff
you may talk about
it's my way or the highway sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you're getting publicity for something like that as opposed to, scoring goals. There's bottom line.
You have to worry about Columbus now, because obviously he's the head coach for the Blue Jackets, and you have to wonder if that's going to be a problem this season. Will they tune him out? And I mean, he did scratch the two Blue Jackets on the team in the game against Canada, Dubinsky and Johnson. Jack Johnson. He scratched both of them. So
he's just trying to save him for the regular season.
Maybe he knew it was done. They were doomed here, but
I'd say those two are the exact people that shouldn't have been on the team in the first place.
Oh well, see, they put the thing. Oh, that was the big thing, is they were before the tournament. They were touting that this is the team that's going to beat Canada, and then they didn't beat Canada. They didn't even come close to beating Canada. They were far and away the worst team in that game. Like, it wasn't close, even though the score says 4-2. I mean, was it really 4-2? It was more like 4-0, kind of. It was more of a 4-0 game. And that's why they're out. That's why they're done. But we should move on to the other teams. Let's go to the teams that did move on here. Let's start in Group A. I think we should start with Europe, because Europe at the beginning, they lost their first two games to Team North America, and they looked like a disaster on the ice. Like they were looking like they were getting destroyed every night. People wrote them off right away.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the a writer for the Toronto Sun, which is like a paper in Toronto that is basically it's a gossip page kind of thing, you know. It's more like you know, it's like the Inquirer or like one of those tabloid papers kind of thing.
Yeah.
One of the things, what the title of a headline for their article on Team Europe was Eurotrash, which is not cool in any way or form. And Don Cherry,
but I said it as a joke.
Yeah, but
I don't write for a tabloid.
But yeah, of course, there you go.
But trying to be incendiary.
Yeah, basically, they're basically putting the idea down that that those players are all garbage, basically, right?
The fact that people were even able to say stuff about them like that shows how that first game was going.
Yeah, and that was the thing, and then they go out, they take it to the U.S., and then the next day, Don Cherry, who is notorious for his takes on European players, he's been known to call them like weak players from time to time. He comes out, he pulls out that paper, and he says, "You can't write that stuff about people." If you do that, you just light a fire under them. They had no chance. The U.S. was going to have no chance if the Europeans saw this.
So
and that's
he blamed the
said,
tabloids for lighting a fire under their ass.
Well, yeah, basically he said, you know, when somebody talks that stuff about you, I don't blame them for coming out with such a passion in that game. He said there was no chance the U.S. would win that game because of just how motivated Europe was to win. And you even hear on the bench, like mic'd up, Anze Kopitar saying they had us fooled. They thought they had us figured out after the first two. We had them fooled, like on the bench, which is great.
I think he was kind of joking.
Yeah,
but the way he said it was kind of like, oh.
But still, they kicked some. They kicked Europe's ass. What was the key to them beating to them making it into the final? We
talked about last time how they were like the other team that had like a full NHL roster. And so it was kind of surprising that they didn't show up for the first exhibition games. And I believe I said last week that if anybody was going to replace somebody in this final two, it would be Team Europe, just because they have the ability to do it. They have the players. I think it was just, you know, sometimes when you're underestimated, like you said, it's fire under you, and, you know, they had less to lose. Yeah. So, you know, go in with less to lose, and sometimes you gain a lot more.
Yeah, I'll admit, I wrote them off. Like, after those games, I said, they're done. There's no way they're going to beat any of these teams. And they showed me. They certainly showed me. They showed everyone else who said they couldn't do it. And, yeah, they looked great. And I'm happy that at least one of those two all-star, the two basically fantasy teams got in.
Yeah.
Because I think it's good, especially because there were rumors ahead after those first two games as well that they weren't going to do Team Europe in the 2020 World Cup because of how badly they showed in those first couple games. But then here they come. They play real well, and they were good. They deserve to be there, undoubtedly.
Yeah, good for them. They had something to prove, and they proved it.
Yeah. I like a lot of people on this team too, so it's, you know, it's.
I mean, I'm
excited to have somebody to root for.
There's a real good group of players on that team, like guys who you like. Maybe with the exception for Zdeno Chara, I'd say I don't like him too much.
Oh yeah.
I'm a Canucks fan. Of course, I'm gonna hate Chara.
That's true. Anybody on the?
It's a good point when you start to add up the like Gaborik, Hossa, Kopitar.
Yeah.
Those are some big. I mean, they slept on them.
Yeah. Now here's a question that I feel needs to be answered. Before the tournament, the three goalies were Halak, Grice, and Frederik Andersen. He got hurt in an Olympic qualifying game before the tournament while playing for his home country, Austria. He got hurt. Do you think any of that changes, say, if Andersen is the goalie? Do you think they would have gone to Andersen in the tournament, and if so, does that change what happens in their group at play?
Maybe. Yeah, I guess, you know, that's kind of a coin toss between Halak and Andersen. They're both really good. I still would have gone with Halak, but
don't get me wrong, Halak is fantastic, but I wonder, like, Andersen, because Andersen's the younger guy, he's played really well in Anaheim. Do they go with him instead, just because he's got the youth side on with him?
It's possible, yeah. I'd say yes. They probably would have thought of something like that, and probably would have went that way. It could have changed things, but who knows? Andersen could have, you know, done the same stuff, stayed in his head a little bit.
All right, and now, got to go into my team, Team Canada. They go 3-0. They looked like Canada.
Classic Canada.
Classic Canada, really was. I mean, it's so funny just looking at that roster and how stacked they were. Reminder, they lost 3 of their original players to injuries before the tournament. They lost a whole line of forwards.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but they have a
replaced
whole
them,
line of forwards
and they
that-
still
You have a
kick.
country's
That's
worth
the
of
amazing
depth lines of
Yeah.
forwards they can just plug
That's
in.
the amazing thing about it. I mean, they look dominant from the minute the puck dropped.
Yeah, I mean that's why honestly, when watching the exhibition game where they lost, it was surprising. I was like,
Oh.
whoa, it's like
I've
saving energy. Obviously,
Yep.
comes to mind once you saw what they did afterwards.
I've been to the Olympics before. I was there for Vancouver 2010. One of the things I remember, I didn't take that game against the U.S. I took that game with a grain of salt because I've seen them play
Yeah.
in these international tournaments before. What happens almost all the time with Canada is they start off badly. Like they don't start off bad, but they start off playing
Nothing really to write home about.
nothing there. They start off very slow.
They're just warming up.
They're warming up, exactly. And because in the Olympics, they beat Norway in the first game like 8-0, but that's Norway. I mean, you had to see that one kind of coming.
Whoa!
That-
Don't say that about me.
But I mean, I don't think they had one. For the record, I don't think they even had an NHLer on that team. So I mean, come on, it's kind of unfair. The second game they played the Swiss, who are good, but still not at the same level as Canada. And they went to a shootout, like a 3-2 shootout in that game. I was actually in the building for that game. And then they played the U.S., lost 5-3 in that game. They lost the group because of it, especially because Ryan Miller was kicking ass in that tournament. But that's kind of a staple of those Canadian All-Star teams because they haven't played together before, because they're not really used to it. They always start off slow. And I think that is why I was happy they had those 3 exhibition games beforehand, because I knew if they had just done training camp, come in cold, they probably would have had a bad start, and the U.S. would have had a better shot at beating them in the first go. I don't know. And, okay, so they're obviously the favorite going into those semis. Do you think it's inevitable that Canada's going to win here?
Yeah, it's boring.
It's boring.
It's what else? I don't think anybody's got what they got. So it's
so
gonna be another boring Canadian win. I think by the end of this.
Quickly into the Czech Republic. They have one more game tonight against the U.S. This is a game for third place. It's not. It's
Yeah.
I will say this: out of all the games in the World Cup, this is the only game that has 0 meaning, which is pretty crazy. Which is good. It's good that the last game of the round robin is the only one that had 0 impact on how the tournament shakes up. It would imagine if we had known everything already and today was just a day of whatever games, or yesterday. It would have been 2 days ago.
Yeah, it's odd.
I
So,
was
it's-
surprised that they didn't plan it out so that the third game would be U.S. Canada.
I'm surprised at that too. I think they just wanted to. I don't know why actually. That's a good question.
Yeah.
When did Canada US play? Did they play on Tuesday?
They played the middle game.
They played
so yeah,
Tuesday,
I think it was
right?
Tuesday.
That's interesting call. And I mean, at the very
I
least,
think there's a
thought-
Blue Jays game that they're all going to today.
Oh, really?
No.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I think they're in town. So, I mean, that's the thing with those tournaments. People go to see all the sights and everything. But the Czech Republic, in ways, not surprising. They finished where they did. But, I think they gave a much better showing than I expected. Their games, even, the game they lost to Canada, 6-0, it's Canada.
Yeah.
But, again, the game against Europe, close. It was a close game. It was tight. It was exciting. And I think, they did a good job. They did good, especially considering they lost some of their really key offensive guys, especially on a team that was already short of NHLers. I think they did pretty well, minus Krejci and Thomas Hertl, those guys. And, they pretty much ended up, I think, where all of us expected they'd end up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. All right, move on to Group B. I think we'll talk about, even though they didn't make it, we should talk about Team North America first. Oh, that was disappointing. I'm really sad they didn't make it.
Yeah, I heard that.
It was close though.
It was close. I mean, they could have made it. It was just unfortunate.
I heard that they didn't tell the players that they needed to win in regulation in that second game.
Well, no, it had nothing to do with that.
No, I mean, like, so after they won in overtime, they were celebrating like they had moved on, and then afterwards they realized, oh.
Oh, did they really? Is that how it worked?
That's
Is that what
I
happened?
heard. I don't know how
Like
much
they sullied a
it
little
was.
too hard, a little too soon.
Well, I mean, it doesn't.
I mean, it was an exciting finish.
I mean, either
like,
way,
yeah, it's celebrated hard, but-
either they won their final game or they're moving on. I think they had good cause
Right.
for celebration.
Yeah, for sure.
See,
It's
I
just,
actually
you know,
thought they'd moved on too.
Yeah,
I thought
I think a lot of people were confused.
I
about
thought
the
it
way
was-
the tournament was set up.
I thought it was based on goal differential. So, and then I looked at the actual tie. So, for those of you who aren't familiar, the tie-breaking situation for the World Cup was if two teams are tied, the winner of the head-to-head matchup between the two teams gets the edge. If it's between three or more, I believe it comes down to it came down to goal differential. So in this case, Russia won earlier today, or tomorrow, depending on when you're hearing this podcast, or yesterday. They won their morning game against Finland, 3-0. They had also won the head-to-head matchup against North America, so they move on despite the fact that they were tied in points. So it's too bad. It's really too bad because they were the most exciting team at that tournament, hands down.
Yeah, and I think just watching a couple clips even while we're sitting here, just the difference between North America and the American team is kind of, and ironically, one of the guys in our organization, Mike Kovanis, brought this up. I saw something he had said online along the lines of USA Hockey's inclination to emphasize more just speed and skill games. Being in the right place at the right time and just going, as opposed to, as we spoke about, the Tortorella defensive strategy.
Toughness.
These young guys, they're coming a little bit more freshly out of this new hockey mindset, and just watching them, they're in the right place, they're fast, they're doing the right things as opposed to just like trying to adopt to an older mindset.
I think the
of
best
coaching.
way to explain it is they're playing kind of more European hockey.
Yeah, kind of. And even watching some of the ways that they're less physical, but using that in a smart way, because, this is just an international tournament. They're not really trying to be as much of a bunch of brutes, but like the ways they release, and they're really smart. I watched a couple times avoiding scenarios where they could have gotten really crucial penalties, even coming down, matching these other European teams in a similar style of play with a lot of speed, but like maybe you might be getting a holding situation. They're smart. I saw them release and then go in and play like a little bit more of an angle game on the boards, and that turned out to have 2 goals in a row. That like literally that sort of approach.
Yeah, I think their youth cost them a little bit on defense. I mean, I saw some mistakes. There was definitely mistakes made, and they were in the box a lot. Even though I thought the reffing was a little bit wonky for that game. You know what I mean? Like there was some really ticky-tacky stuff and things that should have got called on the other side that didn't. It was just it was a rough game as far as the box goes. But I feel like at the very least this skill game that they're moving toward in international play and even in the NHL is more exciting to watch at the very least. So I like that it's moving that way, even though I come from a school of defense first too. So
Yeah. Now, let's be clear here. Let's make this very clear now. People at the beginning of the tournament said this was a gimmick and it was stupid and it would be a dumb team to set up. And did they change that aspect so much? They not only were they might have been a bit of a gimmick, but they won, and including exhibition games, they won 4 games, lost 2.
Yeah.
Their jerseys, the sales of their jerseys and merch went through the roof. They're sold at the American Adidas store, totally sold out of North American jerseys. They're gone. They did what the NHL wanted them to do, which was make a statement. Like they got people talking about the World Cup, and that was the big thing. Is people
everyone loves an underdog story.
Yeah, if they hadn't been there, I think the World Cup would have gotten much less coverage than it did. But because they were there and did so well, people enjoyed it just for that fact.
Sensational young players, and it's kind of reminiscent of what you were saying about Europe being disparaged off the bat and having something to prove. That almost reinforces that aspect a little bit, even though I didn't really like that comment because it's an excuse. But that you have sort of the same thing happening. They hear that stuff, they're people too, and they're seeing what's on social networks and everywhere else and in the news, and they're kind of told that they're not going to do that well. This is gimmicky. They're like, screw you guys. We're gonna go play great hockey.
They've also been doing international play the same way for so long.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just think anything to like mix that up even a little bit just to try it. Why not? You know what I mean? And I feel like it worked.
And I think it's going to be good. I think the younger kids are going to look at these guys and be like, these guys are not that much older than me. Like, and they're going to want to play hockey, and we're going to have more hockey because these kids.
Okay. Now here's the big question. I'm assuming the year they're going to do this again is 2020. They've already said they're going to do it again. I'm assuming they're going every 4 years route, which is 2020. Will we see Team North America and Europe again in that tournament, or are we going to get 2 more international regular countries?
I feel like it depends on just
Who
based
can
on
show
talent in the league at that point.
Well, I remember reading when they were originally thinking up this tournament, who was going to play for North America, and it was really funny. They had some really interesting choices on there, like players who were not on this team at all. Like I think the goaltending they had set up there on this idea roster was Zach Fucali, who's the Canadiens prospect, gold medal winning World Junior goalie for Canada. He's playing for the St. John Icecaps right now, and Malcolm Subban, who's in the Bruins system. But man, it was really a different team. It was a very different team than what they had said was going to be there. I just wonder if I feel like North America has a better chance of being in the next tournament than Europe does, simply because they did so well in publicity when it came to the publicity game than Europe did.
And there's more of a unifying, literally a nationalistic perspective around it, as opposed to Europe. You have less actual people to contribute, again, to like that social networking aspect of it and the publicity. And, you know, what does this organization, World Cup of Hockey, want to promote? Something that's going to get the name in general out there the most. So you're going to, as, you know, a decision maker, go with the teams that are sensational.
But it's going to be weird because, like, these guys in 4 years,
I think
they're not going to be under 23, so they're going to be.
True.
I think
They're gonna be
a
playing
few of
against
them.
each
I think a
other.
few of them will be. Like McDavid, technically, will still be eligible. I think there's a few. There's like a few guys who will be, but most of them, will age out. And it's interesting to see if they'll make it into their next group.
And then kind of the fun question is like, where those next kids going to come from? Out of, you know.
Yeah, for sure. You know, if it continues to be, you know, like a huge chunk of the, you know, top 10 picks every year is Canada, U.S.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then yeah, of course we're gonna have another Team North America. If the big question is whether Europe will get like a European spread out team like this, which I like just because it hits so many markets over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're doing this international
That's
tournament,
true.
and there's like 10 different countries represented, and that they all have somebody on that team, and they all are like watching for that person. You know what I mean? So,
I actually have a good idea on how the NHL should set up the next tournament, but I think we'll do that in a second.
okay.
But we'll go over that in a second. Let's go to Sweden. They won Group B. They got 5 out of possible 6 points. The only game they lost was overtime to North America. They were all around good. I mean, what didn't they do?
Well, the only time I saw them look flustered at all was against North America. So you know, it came in streaks. You know, they started really bad, and then they figured it out a little bit, and then they dropped back a little bit, and then they figure more out, and by the end, it was like an even game. So they're an adaptive team. They're a
That's
team
a really good point.
Yeah, that figures out what's going on, what type of play they need to go with, how to counteract what they're seeing, and just move forward from there. And I think that their game, the Swedish game, is generally something that performs well against any other game. They have a really well-rounded team game, and so the fact that they can adapt beyond that is, you know, a reason that they're a heavy favorite and why they won.
So that's another thing, just about versatility is another way to say it. I think you're right.
Exactly.
Just an adaptive team that has different, you know, lethal parts to just draw on when they need to.
Now, okay, is Sweden the best chance out of the 4 advancing teams? Do they have the best chance at unseating Canada? Or do you think there's somebody else? Or do you think it's Russia or Europe?
Nah, based on what I've seen, they're the only contender. I think. But I mean, again, I didn't catch a lot of the Russia game today. I don't know if I caught most of their game, the first game. I watched their second game, But they just, I
They're-
mean, they were fine. They just didn't really. There was nothing all that impressive about it to me.
I guess we'll just segue right into Russia here. Russia is always kind of a mixed bag. Like
Yeah.
you don't know what you're going to get with them. Either you're going to get what they want, which is the offensive power that is the Russian machine, or you're going to get, if they can't score, it's going to be in their end a lot because their defense isn't as strong as their offense is, you know. But, I mean, I think credit has to go in this case to Sergei Bobrovsky, because man was he good. He was lights out good for them. And that was one of the things I said. If the goaltending is consistent enough, they will make it. But in this case, he went above and beyond. He was making saves left and right. It was ridiculous.
And then on the other hand, you have, you know, Lundqvist then too, who has obviously always been a solid goaltender, and like we talked about for most of his career, made John Tortorella's system of hockey make sense because of how well he would shut down other teams on his own. So you have that, and then on one hand, you know, you have the other team moving in on another aspect of defense. So,
oh yeah, if we're going to mention
It'd be a good
goaltending,
battle.
especially in Sweden's case, we have to mention Jacob Markstrom, because the big story of the second, I believe this was the second day of competition, Lundqvist was sick, so he could not play, and this was just like hours prior, and they threw Markstrom into that game against Russia, and he let in one goal, and the one goal he let in was in the final minute of play.
Yeah.
And, like, I mean, if Markstrom doesn't win that game, they're not in this final. They're not here.
Yeah.
They're not here. And I think that's a huge piece, because as great as Lundqvist was, if they don't win that first game, they were probably not. They weren't going to make it because they'd only have the 3 points.
and then now that he's back,
So-
we only
So much props has to be given to Jacob Markstrom for stepping in late. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a Canucks fan. I'm saying this because this is the truth here. He
know
came in.
about this.
Yeah, he came
we
in.
know where you stand.
Yeah.
He came into a game against arguably one of the best offenses in hockey. Like, not just in, like, in maybe even in
stayed cool.
history. Like, not just obviously Canada would probably rank a little higher, but Russia had Ovechkin, Malkin, Tarasenko. You go down the list of all the different snipers and great players they have on that team, and it's insane how well he played, considering he came in cold, had no idea he was going to play, and he won them that game. It was a 2-1 final.
He probably did his homework.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was prepared.
I'm excited to see him play in the regular season.
And back to the goaltending Russia versus Finland thing again, that I find interesting too is the only thing that I saw really tripping up Lundqvist was like being exposed to these super finesse young American players that when he really just got undressed and got like some of those goals that you can't avoid with that high skill of a player. Now that team is out of the picture for them, and you're looking at a Russian game where obviously players like Ovechkin have changed it on the skill side, but the pillars of Russian hockey are just like skating, and they'd rather see you pass 4 times until everyone's out of the place and you can just take a clean shot and make a beautiful looking goal instead of a lot more grindy stuff that you see coming from Canada. So it's an interesting 2 styles of play they're going to clash.
Yeah.
All right,
I
and
think
then
he's gonna feel more confident going into those games. I think he's gonna think that the worst is behind him.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
now finally we have one last team. The last team here is Finland, and wow, I have to say it was disappointing. I mean, they they looked good in the first, like they didn't look great, but they looked good in the pre-exhibition. They ended up scoring 1 goal in the entire tournament. In the tournament, they scored 1.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened? What happened there?
To be honest, I couldn't tell you. I thought they were going to be kind of like a fast game, like a youth game, because they have a lot of young kids. Like I thought they were going to be kind of like the North American, European.
Yeah, exactly. I thought
Yeah.
that was going to be a bigger deal.
But yeah, I just didn't. I feel like they weren't a meshed team. Like they didn't find a way to come together or play well together. I mean, they did fine. There's a lot of talent on that team.
How long?
It wasn't enough. There was a lot of other teams had great games against them too. You know what I mean?
How long do these teams have to play with each other before the tournament starts?
Oh, they have 3 games, and they have technically training camps about like a week and a half. So they have like regular practices and skating, and then they have 3 games.
So about
So
2
they
weeks
had
total,
the time to
2.5 weeks.
mesh and work as a team. So it's not like they didn't have. It's not like they had no game time together and got thrust into this. And it's not, and let alone the fact that a lot of these guys had played together already this year in the World Hockey Championships in like May. In May, so they know these guys, and they went to the finals in that tournament. So there's no reason they should have been that bad. They like Finland is supposed to be the next great team in hockey. As in, they had like some years where they were always just middle of the pack. They're always like middle top of the pack kind of thing. Now, I believe right now in the international hockey rankings, they're the second highest team. I believe it's Canada, Finland, and then the U.S. behind them. They won gold at the World Juniors. They won silver at the World Hockey Championships. They won bronze in the last 2 Olympics. And now that these youth guys are coming in, it's supposed to be this generation where Finland finally puts it together and wins a gold medal. I don't understand why they were so bad. Even though they were in a group of death, I just don't understand how come they did so poorly.
Just wasn't their week, maybe.
Yeah,
Wasn't
that
out
stuff
there
happens
That
too.
kind of thing, yeah.
I wouldn't say
On a-
goaltending
on a
was at the
slump.
top of their game either.
I don't want to say it's like a lack of talent or anything, but that's because that's what I've been saying all along. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I just feel like this team. I mean, moving forward, I guess it's a little bit of a split.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of young kids, and then a lot of like you got Filppula, and you got Jokinen and Koivu, like guys that have been around for a long time but are kind of past that prime era too. So I mean, it's a mix of both, and who knows?
Okay.
It's really hard to call.
So we got the semis there. So today's the final day of competition, or yesterday if you're hearing this tomorrow. On Friday. Saturday the semifinals start. I think they're only doing one game a day. So I think one's on Saturday, one's on Sunday, and then they have a break again. Canada. I think the first game is Canada. Is Canada versus going to be Russia. Who wins here? Who wins that game?
Canada.
Is it going to be a blowout game, or is it going to be close?
No, I mean it won't necessarily be a blowout, but I don't think that there's any way that
You think there's no way Russia beats Canada?
I mean, stranger things have happened.
There's always a way.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised, because especially the way Bobrovsky's been playing, he's been so good. And I feel like the Russians, in terms of offense, do have the best chance at beating Canada. I was honestly hoping to see them play in the final, but I think they can do it in a one-game situation. I think they can do it.
Well, yeah, one-game situation, anybody can do anything.
I think.
You know what I mean? It just depends on.
Great shooters, great snipers from Russia, but then I'm thinking of people, of course, that you can't ignore. And the way you see Crosby score the goals like he usually does, just being in his right place at the right time, just being quick and accurate. Like when he shoved that one and around the corner. What game was that? When he
That was Europe. That was the last game of the.
Yeah,
that was
so
their last game.
Like those things can happen so quickly, where you think you have a really good rush and maybe the defense broke it down for a second, but like it's not over for players like that, and they do that. And then on the other hand, in Russia, like I mentioned, you have really great shots and snipers, but the scrappiness, the placement, and positioning, I guess I should say, for Canada seems to be that.
Yeah.
That battle for the shooting.
They're tough. They're a big group, tough. They like to play the gritty style. But they still obviously with skill.
Yeah.
I think really it's gonna, because the offenses. I would say the offense for both sides is way closer than people would say. I'd say it's gonna come down to goaltending, which is gonna be Bobrovsky versus Carey Price. And it's really going to be a shootout. Whichever goalie plays better is going to be the guy that comes out with the win in this game.
Canada's got the better defense.
They have the better defense. They definitely have the better defense. But goaltending can steal you games, and especially again in the one-game situations, goaltending often steals games.
Defense wins championships.
Not in a short tournament. Not in these tournaments. Otherwise, the U.S. They would actually be here, wouldn't they?
Yeah, if we're even thinking that they did the play style that they were told to correctly.
There you go.
That's the question. Yeah.
So I feel like, I think it just comes down to whichever goalie stands on his head more, that's the team that's going to win, because that's how close the offenses are. The defense is obviously much better for Canada, but still,
I've seen a lot of Bobrovsky as a Flyers fan. I know he has stretches where he's amazing. He's not a better goalie than Carey Price, though. He can be, but he's not.
They've both won Vezinas.
I think 4 out of 5 times this game plays out, Canada wins. So you never know.
I think it's whichever goalie
for Russia, but
doesn't get hurt.
Doesn't get. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, well, I mean, yeah. If that being said, if Carey Price gets hurt, you have to go to Corey Crawford or Braden Holtby. I don't feel like that's too much. I don't feel like that's much of a. I don't feel like that's much of a step down.
Right.
Whereas I think if Bobrovsky gets hurt, it's Varlamov, who's still pretty close, and then I don't even remember who the third guy is. I don't think I think he's KHL guy. But it's not going to matter in this game.
Never heard of him.
I would say yeah. If Bobrovsky gets hurt, Varlamov is not as capable as he would be. You know, it's not like with Canada. If you lose Price, you go to Holtby, and if you lose Holtby, you go to Crawford.
Yeah.
You really don't have any change over.
Oh, they have Vasilevsky.
Vasilevsky's the other guy,
There you
actually. Oh, you know, I would personally think Vasilevsky's better than
Yeah.
both of those guys. I've seen him play; he's great. Okay, the other semifinal is Sweden versus Europe. I would say Sweden's probably got the edge here, but is it closer than people assume?
Yeah, like I said, I like the makeup of the European team. I think that Sweden definitely has the advantage and they have the better style of play, but you know, it's just like the Canada-Russia thing. It's you know, statistically speaking, we're probably going to see Sweden move on, but you know, they could steal the game.
Well, and Halak is going to have to outplay Lundqvist, and that's going to be a really tough thing to do.
Yeah.
I think this game will be tight. Well, I think both these games are going to be tight. I think both semifinals are going to be a lot closer than people assume. People are going to think it's going to be a blowout for one side, but I think it's going to be much closer than people think.
Yeah.
You know? All right, okay. So we've gone over everything that we can. Semifinals next week, we'll cover those. We'll make sure to get to those. So from what you guys saw of the World Cup, I know not all of you have been watching avidly like I have, but what did you think of the overall tournament? What did you guys think so far?
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's a nice replacement if we don't get Olympics this year. Who knows? Like if they're going to continue to do that. I hope we get an Olympic hockey at the next Olympics. It'd be great. It's something I always look forward to for years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, this is a nice replacement if you can't have that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, the NHL wants to make money, and that's kind of why they don't want to go.
I mean, as much as I like curling,
I love
which
curling.
I love watching curling.
I've been to
but
curling at the Olympics. It's really fun.
I also need to watch hockey.
Yeah.
Oh, well, hockey's going to be there. That's not the issue. Hockey is going to be at
Right.
the Olympics. It just won't
Right.
be with NHL
Yeah.
players. That being said, Ovechkin has made it clear he will go regardless. He said, and apparently the Capitals owner backs him up and has said, yes, he can go. He is allowed to go to play for Russia.
good for them. Then maybe we'll see more people be able to do that.
Yeah, maybe he'll lead the way by
Yeah.
just making that decision. Like, I want to play hockey, like, and screw away with the politics of,
Yeah.
you know, blah, 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 this, that, the other, and being kind of prima donnas when it's a physical game anyways.
Yeah.
So, you know.
A lot of people, I've heard people say before that they don't like the NHL going to the Olympics because they feel like it taints the overall, how it's supposed to be an amateur tournament kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be clear, it's not anymore.
It's not.
Yeah, no.
It's not
I don't
anymore.
even
Think
think it
about all
ever
the
has
millions of
been.
dollars. Think about all the millions of dollars, especially like in the U.S. For
And-
example, how much money like the star athletes make from like their
Yeah.
endorsements of their running
yeah.
shoes.
And
or
any
their
other sport that's
equipment.
not hockey, what you're dealing with at the Olympics is the best people from the country for that sport.
Yeah.
So we have the best people for the country for perspective. Maybe a bunch of them from all over the world are playing the NHL, but
Yeah.
those are the best from their country.
'Cause
So
back
why
in-
should that change?
Because
Yeah.
back in the like older Olympics, it had to be you could not get paid to go, and that was the issue. And there was the huge controversy over when the Soviet Union was dominating hockey at that time because technically all of them were from the Red Army. The Red Army ran the hockey program, which is of course the big military, the Soviets' military system, and they paid them to be soldiers, but they didn't actually do any soldier work. They just played hockey. So Canada put their hand up and was like, hey, this is not amateurism. They're getting paid to play. But
and there's a
Olympics said it
difference in
wasn't.
discipline when you involve military.
So, but it's just that idea of there was of course the whole controversy of technically the Russians were getting paid to play,
Yeah.
and the Canadians were sending guys who they wanted to send guys. Who
Russia
they
found a
couldn't get,
loophole
like
because it
NHL.
meant so much to them.
Yeah, the NHL Canada wanted to send NHLers, but they couldn't because
Yeah.
they got paid to play. But nowadays it's not that situation anymore. Now most people get paid to go. I will say in the Olympics I don't believe the hockey teams get paid even to play. I do believe they go out of for nothing. I believe like I don't think Canada pays any of the players who go.
But I mean, if
I
you
think
win
it's
gold
literally
medal,
4
like you
countries.
sell that, and that's worth like.
Well, yeah.
It's made of gold, man.
Yeah, dude.
I don't think
Just
gold
go
is
to
worth
cash
as
for
much
gold,
as they say it
like-
is it? But yeah, it's just that idea. They just go for the pride of the country, and it would be disappointing if they weren't there. I just wonder who would go nowadays, because it's not like in the old days. I know Canada sent like they had like a national team that worked together year round, that like played together year round and stuff. They don't have that anymore, obviously.
All the junior
What do they
programs send their best players.
I mean, it would
and-
basically be another. That's
College
what I
kids
see. That's
and-
what I worry is. Would the Olympics just turn in the Olympic hockey tournament if they didn't have NHLers? Would it just turn into another World Juniors?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Wh-
Is what
and
it's
it-
going to be. Yeah, or
and I feel like
college players,
I don't
and
want-
you know.
Yeah, I don't want that. I like the World Juniors. I like watching them. I feel like it would lose so much fan interest if that was it, right? I
Yeah.
feel like it would be bad for the game if they
Yeah.
didn't send NHL
Absolutely.
players. Okay, and now here's the fun part. I did a power rankings article. I mentioned it already. Where I ranked all the teams and how I thought they would end up, and overall I did pretty okay, but I made a few pretty crucial blunders. I think.
Yeah.
Number one was I put Finland as the second best team,
Wow.
and no,
Yeah.
that didn't end up well. North America I had ranked below Europe, but in the end, actually, I had both of those teams a lot lower than I thought. I still think I should have picked North America higher than Europe, but I think they still.
Where'd you have US at?
USA number 5, or was it 5 or actually, you know what? It might have been 6. It was 6. I had them in 6th
So
because
both
it was
was
Canada. It went the rankings were Canada, Finland, Russia, Sweden. Oh no, it was the US. US was in number 5. And then Europe, North America, and Czech Republic.
Okay.
Czech Republic did get a point. They did better than 8th, so they did better than I thought they would, but not like that
Well,
much
I
better.
mean, if they lose,
If they lose to if they beat, they could get as many as 3 points if they beat the U.S. And they'll finish only at the worst. They finish with 1, which is still better than I assumed. You know.
Yeah.
So although I mean, I think it turned out overall mostly what I expected. But I mean, teams like Europe, they shot up. Europe I had in 6th. They shot all the way up to probably about 4.
yeah.
And Sweden, there we go. Sweden, that's the other one. I had them as 5th. I said they would lose to Finland. I would say Finland was going to make it over them, so they did much better.
Hey, you took a shot. Yeah.
I took a shot. It was my first try. I thought, from what I saw, I liked what I was seeing from Finland, and so I thought they would do a lot better.
There you go.
It's just too bad. It's
Yeah.
too bad. Okay, now we should. Now Bruce brought this up earlier. We got the polar bear season starts pretty soon.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yes.
and we think maybe it's a good time to change the goal song possibly.
Yeah, well,
So we're gonna. I guess the guys are. We can open it up to suggestions from you guys on what the goal song
What do
should
you
be.
want to celebrate? too?
Yes. So okay, but for the record here, let's see. Like Tommy, in your case, what would be a really great song to go to score to?
Well, first of all, I like mixing it up. I want to put that out there, and maybe just not having one song. I think different goals have different amounts of momentum.
Would you want one for particular goals, or would you want a goal song for every player? Because I know some teams do that.
That's cool too. I was thinking more along the lines
I'll
of
never
like
hear my song then.
maybe like something with a certain amount of. That was really vague, but like a song with a certain amount of energy for like a first goal of the game or tie goal, but maybe like a
Power
go
play
ahead,
goal.
maybe like a go ahead goal, like a really super like lit song that like because there's a difference maker things. I don't know,
Yeah.
just a thought.
I think the best songs, the goal songs, are the ones I think personally I like when they only have one song because I like the particular ones where
Okay.
they can get the fans involved. Like for example, I think the best goal song in hockey is Chicago. Because they got everyone in the building going da 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 da, and it rattles the other team. It really does. Like especially I know it pretty well. I've seen
It's
my team
upbeat.
get very rattled in Chicago on a number of occasions.
It's upbeat. It's a little low key, cocky, just like a.
Well, yeah, it gets the fans into the game more. So I
Mhm.
feel like that's something to consider is something where you can get the fans involved to the song and get them like riled up with it a little bit.
A chorus that's easy.
So what do you think of as a song?
My first suggestion is going to be "Fantasy" by Mariah Carey.
Fantasy by Mariah Carey.
I like Pony by Genuine.
Yeah.
And some people may think that I'm just making a joke here, but I love that song.
Okay,
Yeah.
there we go.
If we want to go a little bit historical with it, when the JC team first came back as a club team, I don't know, I guess it was like 7 or 8 years ago. I did a little bit of the music for them for when they were first coming out on the ice. I did some of the between whistles music for them in the arena, and I know that the team picked for themselves their intro songs were Trapped Under Ice by Metallica and Stranglehold by Ted Nugent. So I think either of those would be a little bit fitting because those were the first ones picked by the team.
Throwback.
Drawing
Throwback.
some team history.
Yeah.
And I also I like the idea of having like metal and stuff for walkout songs and intros and stuff.
I feel like the intro song is fine.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of teams use it.
I kind of get used to like AC/DC or whatever that is that we kind of walk out to.
See, my one big issue with our music, especially coming out on the ice and scoring right now it's just what the Sharks use. And I feel like we're a different program. We shouldn't just because the Sharks come out to that opening song.
Seek and Destroy.
And they used to score to the Rock and Roll Part 2 or whatever it's called by Gary Glitter, which is now a not so nice, a good song to think about.
Yeah.
Which is part of the reason why we should probably change it.
Has some connotations.
Yeah.
Well, we don't
if we're not going to go into it, you can look
so.
it up on your own. But yeah, I feel like we do kind of just what the Sharks do already. Since we're a different program, we don't want to just copy the Sharks. We want to be our own team. We want to do our own thing. And I feel like that's important.
That's a good
as
point.
a group, to
But there's
build our
also
own identity.
There's also something to be said about like pairing our identity off something that's a growing program that just made it to Stanley Cup the first time. It's great. Waking up Northern California to the fact that hockey's an actual thing out here.
I am trying.
What is it?
It's a thing.
What is?
Hockey.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly like some people might like not know. So now, I mean, you may not.
Now I'm curious about it.
Yeah, so hockey. Exactly.
I have made the suggestion to management, the people in charge of the marketing at the Polar Bears, that we should do something like a Sharks Night, where maybe we get Polar Bear jersey, like Polar Bear logos on the teal and orange Sharks jerseys.
That'd be sick.
That'd be
and it would be like literally just a Sharks Night kind of deal.
Yeah,
maybe we get like one of the mascots to show up or something.
But
I feel like that'd be kind of a cool
their
thing
shark
to do.
stuff too.
Or it could be the Bear Akudas.
The Barracudas,
Oh,
yeah, we
gosh.
could get them to show up too.
That's
That'd be
pretty
cool.
good.
Have you seen their orange uniforms? Have you seen their orange
No.
jerseys? They have a bright orange jersey, and it is something. It's really something. I have to say their logo's a little bit off, a little bit weird.
My only
because it
reason
is
to
part of a company logo.
to set things a little bit apart from the Sharks is because a lot of the other teams in the division are also like local-ish.
Yeah.
So a lot of other teams are having the
that's a
same.
good
If
point.
anything, we're the
Yeah.
farthest
So,
away from them out of the
so-
teams like San Jose State.
One thing is
in our group.
You guys should do something because I believe that support your local team, support the market and kind of piggyback on that a little bit, but also do some things to say blaze your own trail. You know what
exactly.
I mean? So
Now, on the goal song topic, Team Finland, I don't know if you've heard their goal song before, but I think it's hilarious, and I've heard it a lot, especially the last year, like at the World Juniors, the World
You
Championships.
didn't hear it a lot.
Did not hear it you heard it maybe once in one game, but I felt like we should play it. I want to play it for you guys because it is so just fun. It's just a really funny little thing, and I thought I should play it here. Let's see if it...
Is the mic gonna pick it up?
This is Finnish pop. I've heard this and I've wanted to know what it was for the longest time. Thankfully, some Finnish people on Twitter helped me figure out what it was.
Got a little George of the Jungle in there? Or?
Basically. How about we use this? This is good.
Well,
Even though we have no clue what they're saying. They could be saying something really bad and we have no clue.
I want to do a little bit more research on it. So
Yeah.
something like that.
See, but that just
Probably something really racist.
the Scandinavians have been into deep house for a while now, so that doesn't surprise me that they're on the far end of like funky sounds.
Yeah.
Which is great. I love electro and everything, but that was like
It's just so funny just hearing like, especially I think especially with this, it's interesting hearing other countries and their ideas of music and their interest in music, because that you wouldn't hear something like that in the U.S. right now. It's just not the thing. But that's so fun. It just gets you up and dancing a little bit.
It is. It's kind of silly.
In the arena, you see them all going and having like a good time out there. You know?
Okay.
And I feel like that's important. You know, that's important. They've got
a little bit of shock value, maybe a little bit of like, what am I hearing? Fine. Like,
try some things.
I love it.
You guys should try some things out. Try a few.
See
what everybody vibes
so
to, and then go
so I'm wherever this is getting shared. This could get shared. This is obviously going to be on YouTube. It might make it to a couple other Facebook pages and Twitter and whatever. And
maybe I'll share it on my Facebook.
Should we have should we get a hashtag for it? Should we do like a hashtag hashtag SRJC goal song or something?
Celly song.
Or Polar Bear goal song.
No, how about this? I like Celly song. It's got some.
Okay, but we need to make sure it's got us in it here. So SRJC Celly song.
I don't
Should
know.
we do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So so basically, leave a comment.
How do you spell that?
Okay. Hashtag SRJC.
Can you get like a little bubble that like
Okay.
like when they're watching the video, it'll
Yeah.
pop up
I'll
right
pop
here.
it up. Okay. I'll make that. I'll make sure it's.
We'll put it at
obvious.
right here. This is what you want to.
Yes.
Right
Click
there?
right there.
Or
Ding. No. Okay. There it
We'll
is.
put it up here?
We'll put it somewhere.
We could like
I will put it somewhere.
dude, put it everywhere.
Put it everywhere. Okay. That sounds about right. Okay. So basically just leave a comment with a song that we should use. I think the only guidelines would be, since we have kids who come to the games, nothing that's just full of like swearing.
So no 3-6 Mafia.
If you can find
that
being said, if you find a clean version of that
Yeah.
song, then yes, it'll count.
I hate
But
censored songs. That's just me, though.
I mean, if we're gonna have families at the game, we can't
That's
let we
fair.
can't.
Sometimes
have
I
that
like
so.
the censored songs better because they're like
A little bit of
funnier,
irony.
really
Okay.
weird and funny. Like
Yeah, there.
like Mystical's "Shake Your Ass," "Shake It Fast."
Yeah.
There's some really good lines in there.
Yeah.
Just leave any song that you think would be fun to listen to, and I'm sure we'll share it with everyone on the team.
Yeah.
Let them have their input, and we'll pick a song. Or maybe even just maybe
If
everyone
they
will
let
have
us,
their own.
if they
who
let
knows?
us change the song,
I mean, the only part about having everyone have their own song is
like
you
figure
have to
out
who scored
the
right
goal,
off the bat.
and then
Like hot button.
I know, I don't know what I would use as a goal song. If I was the goalie, it would be something like "It's a Miracle," something like that. I score from the other end, pull a Ron Hextall on the ice and just flick it down the ice. But I'm not playing this year, so it doesn't matter all too much.
there's always next season.
There's always next season. That is very true. Do we have anything else we want to go over here regarding the NHL or the World Cup?
No, just
Or
stoked to
anything?
see a little bit of publicity come out of that underdog scenario.
Yeah.
People caring about. Just cool little on the hiatus of the NHL to have that there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy
Nice
to see
ramp
that.
up in the season.
Yeah.
Here. Question: do we want to do like a maybe a starters fantasy draft kind of thing? Maybe where we all pick a starting roster, like 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and a goalie. As we do a fantasy draft.
Right now?
No, in a future episode.
Yes, let's do that. I think next episode as well. Once this is all over, we should discuss what went well about the tournament and what they could do better next time for the next World Cup. Unless we want to talk about that right now. I don't know if anyone has an idea on that.
No, I would like to collect my thoughts a little bit. That's
okay.
a great idea.
Yeah.
Let's wait for next time.
Okay, I think I think that pretty much just wraps it up here. We will be back next week. I believe I think next week is the last episode before Polar Bear season starts. Is it? Would that be the next one, or is that 2? What's the first game? The first game is
the 7th.
The 7th.
October
Okay,
7th.
So looking at the calendar
But I don't know,
here,
I don't know.
that will. Okay, so we have 2 more episodes. We have 2 more episodes before the season starts.
Wait, will we be here for that? When do we leave?
Oh yeah, when do you guys leave for that?
I think they were saying Friday.
Friday. Okay, so we will
But
be.
that-
here.
Well, okay, so we can still do it. Thursday's not going to be
yeah,
in
yeah,
the way,
yeah,
right?
we'll be fine.
Okay, and if not, I'm sure we could just do the 2 of us or whatever, and call you guys and have an interview with one of our players.
Well,
I feel like that's
Luke-
something we're going to get to at some point.
We could do a Skype.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Polar Bears on
Skype.
the road.
That's something we got to do at some point. We got to get some extra players in here to come talk about how they're doing, how the season's going, and
Yeah.
everything. Obviously, yes. Once again, it's going to get more polar bear topics once we get closer to the season starting. Preview for the season does come out in the paper next week, in the Oakleaf paper next week.
Yeah, check out the Oakleaf paper.
Yes. All right. And so
Also, there's a cool crossword in it.
there's okay. Yeah. So Bruce does the crosswords.
Some decent opinion pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were the first person to finish the crossword and you bring it into him, you get a picture with Bruce.
Yeah,
You get
it's
a picture
true.
and an autograph with from
Just
Bruce.
roll it.
From SRJC hockey legend Travis LaBrucherie. So we're gonna throw that out there.
True.
There we go.
True
For an
statement.
extra $100, you can touch the bullet.
Yeah.
It's expensive, but it's worth
It's
it.
It used to be more.
Yeah.
It's worth its weight in gold, you
It's
know.
a discount. It's a discount. We're just
All
gonna
right.
break it.
Yeah, student discount.
There you go. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for listening to the Four Dudes One Cup, the SRJC Polar Bear podcast. This episode has been powered by the Oakleaf, SRJC's student newspaper.